Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another installment of Scout Selections here for Saturday, July 13th. Before we get into the play of the day, we'll quickly recap what happened yesterday. We picked up our first loss of the Summer League, unfortunately, as we recommended the Clippers and beating the Indiana Pacers, and they ended up losing that game outright. Unfortunately, we knew going in that there would be the Clippers' last game of the Summer League, and we thought that they would rest some key pieces. However, the Pacers were 0-4, and they lost every game by 15 points going in, so we thought that the Clippers' supporting cast would still be enough for Los Angeles to get the job done. Unfortunately, that was not the case, as the Pacers ended up winning that game comfortably, and we ended up picking up our first loss. However, we'll look to bounce back as we have another Summer League play for you today on Saturday, and we'll be giving that play out right now. There's going to be another play in the consolation bracket. This matchup is going to be between the Denver Nuggets and the Houston Rockets, and that game should be taking place at roughly 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Although this will be the last Summer League game for both teams, I feel like it's actually beneficial that both teams have pretty much no players who will make the active roster for their respective teams, because of the fact that the teams will be likely to not rest anybody since they will not be relevant in the NBA fold at this point in the season. However, in terms of the actual roster, assuming both teams will be playing at full strength, I definitely think that Houston is the better overall team, and I think that Houston should get the job done at -3.5, which is available at -110 at Bovada, and that will be the line we will be using for the play of the day. Thanks, Sam. I appreciate it. Sorry that we couldn't get the win yesterday, but either or. Glad that so far Summer League has been profitable for us. In terms of this matchup itself, if you look at the rosters between the two teams with Denver and Houston, you'd notice that Denver's 1-2, Houston's 2-2. Denver enters this game off a 2-game losing streak, and in their last game against Golden State, they also choked pretty badly as they ended up getting outscored by 17 points in the fourth quarter as the team lost by 4. To make matters worse, Denver, if you look at their actual roster in the Summer League, they had no supporting cast whatsoever in the last game they played. Vanderbilt, the former power forward from Kentucky, has actually done really well so far in the Summer League. He had 20 and 17 in his last game. However, nobody else in the entire Nuggets roster had double-digit points, and I think that will be an issue, as I simply think that there is a massive lack of depth on the Nuggets Summer League roster. Vanderbilt's great. Everyone else is pretty much replaceable, and I'm being generous when I say that. Everybody else is pretty much not that good. And overall, I simply think that Houston has the better overall roster, and I think they have the deeper roster as well. Plus, Houston has some height, which should be able to deal with Vanderbilt in the middle. They've won their last 2 games. They beat Sacramento. Sacramento is a very big team. They ended up losing to the Cavs yesterday, but that's because they weren't playing for anything. I mentioned before in previous videos that Sacramento tends to dominate on the rebounding side with their Summer League roster. Houston held their own. They ended up winning that game outright. They beat Utah in their last game. If you look at their actual roster, though, you have Chris Clemens, you might remember, who is a phenomenal scorer, and he pretty much lit up all of college basketball as he ended up leading the nation in points per game last year. You also have Shamori Ponce from St. John's, who's a backup point guard. You have Kyozo, who's solid. You have Zach Thomas, who's solid. Overall, you also have Adele from Louisville, who's pretty solid. Overall, I simply think that besides Vanderbilt, I think Denver's entire Summer League team is below par. And I think that Houston has a 9-man rotation in the Summer League, which is serviceable. I think it's good enough to get the job done here. And I think that since none of these teams have specific, superstars who are guaranteed to make the NBA roster, I think they're all likely going to play, with the exception of maybe Vanderbilt on Denver, because he pretty much has done everything he possibly can to shore up a roster spot, as he's been great. So based on that, I'm not sure if Vanderbilt will play. And as for Houston, I can only see everybody playing because I don't really think anybody is wowed at the front office into guaranteeing themselves a roster spot, and they will have one final chance to do that. So you also have Hartenstein for Houston, who is a big man who they drafted in the second round 2 years ago, who should be able to do some damage in the interior. But the play of the day, thanks, Scott. I appreciate that. No problem, Terry. Appreciate that as well. But the play of the day will be on the Houston Rockets -3.5 at -110, which is available at Bovada. And that game will be tipping off at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Other than that, quick reminder of our sponsor, PointsBet, online sportsbook in New Jersey. A couple of great deals for you. Up to 2 risk-free bets up to $1,000. So if you end up wanting to bet on some random Summer League games, bet on some brackets or something, and you end up losing, you simply get your money back and don't have to worry about making up your bankroll. And that is definitely a great promo that I wish more sportsbooks would do. But that's PointsBet. I will leave a link in the description below for that. Other than that, that's going to over this installment of Scott Selections here for Saturday, July 13th. And good luck to all of you and your respective bets today. Bye, everyone.